What if I told you that the rarest Plymouth ever made wasn't born in Detroit, but in Italy? And that it spent part of its life pretending to be a Jaguar before being rescued and restored to its original jet-age glory? Stick around. This is the story of a one-of-one dream car that was nearly lost to time. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the one time Plymouth walked into an Italian tailor shop and came out looking like a Milanese movie star. I mean, if you've ever wondered what happens when America's most practical car brand puts on cologne, lights a Gauloises and whispers ciao, this is it. The 1954 Plymouth Explorer Ghia, the only Plymouth that could park next to a Ferrari and not get laughed off the piazza. But first, a huge thank you to our sponsors. Those brave souls funding my caffeine habits and Timmy's research trips, which suspiciously always end at a lakeside tavern with a jukebox and no Wi-Fi. You're the reason we can still afford to dig into history and patch the fender after Timmy accidentally backed over. Now let's rewind to 1954. The war was over, tail fins were beginning their rise, and Chrysler was desperate to shake off its image as the maker of your Uncle Harold's beige sedan. Enter Virgil Exner, styling chief with a pencil, a plan, and a transatlantic connection. Exner teamed up with Ghia of Turin and its maestro, Luigi Gigi, Segre to dream up a car so stylish even Italians would raise an espresso in salute. The Explorer was the result, a futuristic coupe with curves tighter than Bob's budget and an attitude that screamed jet age, not junior accountant. Power came from Plymouth's dependable L-head inline 6 of the day, the 203.2 cubic inch unit, 3.8 litres with 110 horsepower. Side valve smoothness, a single Carter 1 barrel, about 7.01 compression, and torque in that friendly mid-range. In 1954 Plymouths, this was the high output option, and the Explorer got it. Nobody pretended it was a Hemi assassin. The whole point was reliability for parades, displays, and the occasional confident sprint. Period chatter pegs top speed around 115 miles per hour, about 185 kilometers per hour. Fuel consumption wasn't formally recorded for the concept, but similar Plymouths of the era did something like 12 to 18 miles per gallon, roughly 13 to 20 liters per 100 kilometers, back when gasoline cost pocket change and advice from strangers was free and equally questionable. And the looks? Oh, the looks. The Explorer was clad in hand-formed steel, painted a sea glass green with ivory accents. Its twin jet-style exhausts, only one reel like Timmy's fishing stories, recessed headlights, wire wheels, and low-slung stance gave it an aura of otherworldly glamour. It was 15 feet and 5 inches, 4,704 millimeters long, just over 6 feet, 1,820 millimeters wide, and stood barely 4 feet and 6 inches, 1,380 tall. At 3,500 pounds and 500 kilograms, it wasn't exactly a featherweight, but it carried its bulk with grace. Inside, the Explorer indulged in Italian luxury. White leather bucket seats with green piping, a center console, hidden radio controls, even fitted green leather luggage. This was the kind of car that whispered continental elegance and ashtray included in the same breath. But let's not pretend this was some exotic Ferrari eater. The Explorer had drum brakes, manual steering, and a live rear axle. No disc brakes, no power steering, and no real hope of outrunning a 1957 Chevy. What it did have was presence. The kind of presence that made showgoers pause, light a lucky strike and say, "That's a Plymouth." Only one Explorer was ever made, and it barely escaped the crusher. After touring the United States show circuit, it was exported to dodge customs fees. Chrysler washed its hands of it, selling it off quietly in Europe. There it was driven daily, yes, daily, by various owners who eventually hacked on a Jaguar XK engine and slapped on some vaguely Jaguar-ish bumpers. Then came the rescue. Concept car bloodhound Joe Bortz tracked the Explorer down in Europe around 1989 to 1990, neglected, non-running, and asking $95,000. It came back to the States, and later owners restored it to its 1954 glory. The correct Plymouth Flathead 6 returned, the small twin bumperettes reappeared, the incorrect grille vanished, and the metallic sea green paint glowed again. Today, the Explorer lives in Los Angeles at the Peterson Automotive Museum's vault, the world's rarest Plymouth, as more than one curator has said. One made, one survived. What sets the Explorer apart is refinement over revolution. No exotic engine, no science fiction chassis. Its uniqueness is the Fusion, a modest American drivetrain tucked into a hand-in Italian sculpture that previewed the forward look without shouting. The dual afterburner tail outlets were truly novel on a mid-1950s American car. The two-seat bucket and console layout foreshadowed how Americans would define sporty interiors in the 1960s. And there's the whisper of design DNA that later shows up in another Italo-German favorite, the Volkswagen Ghia. Enough similarity in roof and rear contours to make historians raise an eyebrow and Exner raise a glass. Now, here's the kicker. The Explorer cost Chrysler around $10,000 to build in 1954, about $105,000 in today's dollars. Meanwhile, a regular Plymouth sedan cost just $2,000 back then. There has been no public auction sale recorded for the Explorer itself since restoration, so there's no official highest hammer price. For context only, a comparable one-off Ghia dream car of the era, the 1954 DeSoto Adventurer II, sold for about $1.43 million at auction. Other Ghia specials have landed in the high 6 to 7 figures. The Explorer as a museum piece and the rarest Plymouth on earth is regarded in that 7-figure neighborhood. In short, it went from what is that weird thing to the most valuable Plymouth ever made. What makes the Explorer truly special isn't just its one-off status or its jet-age styling, it's that it came from the least likely brand at the time. It wasn't a Cadillac, a Lincoln, or even a DeSoto, it was a Plymouth. The car your grandma drove to church, now dressed to kill in Milanese steel. That, I think, is the ultimate flex. So here's to the 1954 Plymouth Explorer Ghia. The concept car that dared to dream, went undercover in Europe, got a Jaguar heart transplant, and still came back looking better than most of us after a full spa day. It's not just a car, it's proof that even the most practical names can have a wild, stylish night out. If you love stories like this, where concept cars escape the crusher, where flathead sixes wear Italian suits, and where Timmy insists he once saw one racing a Miura in Portugal, then hit that subscribe button. Because while Bob's still scanning the skies for alien satellites, we're scanning the archives for automotive treasure. And trust me, this one was worth the find.